morning, but I had to do a 15-mile long run this morning as a part of my marathon training for the Chicago 2025 marathon. It absolutely devastated me. I had to hydrate like a madman that's been wandering the Sahara for eons. So I had a rough start to the morning, but we're doing this over lunchtime now. And what we're going to be talking about is going to be Meta's recent earnings call, how it shattered earnings call expectations, and what its harkings about superintelligence actually mean, right? Before that, I just want to make sure that I'm streaming on all the platforms appropriately. It seems like I am. Last time I was having a hard time connecting the streams to Twitch and Instagram, whatever. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, if you were holding on to Meta stock as of yesterday, you are a very, very happy person because they reported $47.5 billion in earnings revenue, which means it was up 22% year on year, right? And this has mostly been, obviously, a big part of these earnings are because of its ad revenue, but another big part of it was because of its push on AI. Meta wants to be an AI first company. Now, there's one thing that you need to pay attention to, and there's one thing that you need to keep in mind. All these other players in the AI space, right, or all these other players that want to claim themselves as an AI first company, are mostly people that don't have like a lot of money to go on. I mean, Google's the other exception, right? But OpenAI, if they don't make it in AI, they are bust. Anthropic, if they don't make it, they are bust. But Meta is a cash volcano in terms of the ads revenue business, which is why it was able to take a crazy bet on the metaverse, have it completely fail, and it's still out and beating and kicking, fully alive and thriving, right? Because Meta just has a ton of money. Anyway, um, Meta absolutely dominated in its earnings report, and it spiked 9% after hours. Now, the earnings numbers, its revenue increase and its earnings were obviously impressive, but the stock jump, the 9% after hours, was in part at least to one announcement by Mark Zuckerberg. And that was the fact that Meta AI Systems, so obviously they are starting the Superintelligence Labs, right, which is a big branding differentiator from what they already had, which was the Facebook Artificial Intelligence Labs, right? They are going to, they are making, they're differentiating themselves, branding themselves from another, they're taking an interesting branding turn, right? Is this comment from right now? Hey, bro, how's it going? Do you remember me from a couple of years ago? Adamali, I've been seeing your comments on my stream. I'm not sure if this is live. Anyway, I'm pretty new to streaming. I'm not sure if this was live or from, like a few months ago. But I remember you, bro. You've been making comments on my videos. Thanks for your support. Even if that was a comment made in the past. Anyway, back on topic, right? So they made the announcement about the differentiator for the Facebook Superintelligence Labs, but also they said that Meta has seen glimpses of superintelligence, artificial general intelligence, aka, and specifically the attribute that it claimed impressed them was the fact that this AI system was able to improve upon itself on its own. This is a very, very important milestone, and this is called recursive improvement, where an AI system, without human intervention, is able to improve upon itself. And Facebook Superintelligence Labs is already seeing signs of this happening, right? This is a segue into a bit of a darker turn for the video. I don't know if you guys are aware, but terms like takeoff event or superintelligence or artificial general intelligence and all of these things are nothing new. They've been around for a very long time, right? Specifically the term superintelligence. In fact, a book published by Nick Bostrom was called Superintelligence, and this was published in 2014, so about 11 years ago, right? This book, scarily enough, points out a lot of the signs and symptoms that we're seeing today. If you haven't read the book, it's a bit of a dense read, but I highly recommend maybe use ChatGPT or an AI summarizer to quickly go over the contents of the book. Anyway, the book basically states the dangers that come with building superintelligence in an irresponsible way. But first of all, it defines what superintelligence is. And I think that's a definition that we should really lay out because the everyday person, they hear terms like AI, superintelligence, AGI, and it's all like one big like conflation of everything, right? But superintelligence means a very distinct kind of AI. AI is anything that, you can broadly think of it as a thinking machine. And AI also, the computer vision model is AI. An AI model, if a model is able to recognize images and label them as hot dog and not hot dog, that's technically AI, right? That's very narrow AI. But superintelligence is very broad AI. And specifically defined, superintelligence is AI that vastly exceeds. We're talking about the difference between an ant to a human and then human to superintelligence. Um, Vastly exceeds human ability in every domain: planning, creativity, learning, and self improvement. Does that sound familiar from Meta's recent earnings calls? Anyway, right, I think I do want to talk about the idea of recursive self-improvement, right, where this is the thing that can lead to a very quick takeoff event. A takeoff event meaning, like we're at a point where we can't put the genie back in the bottle anymore. In superintelligence, Nick Bostrom pretty much defined the different kinds of AI, right? Um, there were these different uh, there's AI that just does like I believe don't quote me on this, but I think at least one was the Oracle, which was the first version of ChatGPT, right? Which is pretty much like a question answer bot. You ask it questions, it gives you answers. It doesn't have the ability to do any tools and tasks. That was the first really impressive event that we saw in 2022 when ChatGPT came out and people were losing their mind. You can ask it anything and it's able to sort of just answer questions for you, right? But these AI models had a cutoff, um, knowledge cutoff, where if you asked it questions about, like current time, which wasn't in its training data set, it couldn't really give you reliable answers on it. It would hallucinate maybe, or just tell you like, hey, I don't know about this. And then we moved on to giving these AI models tools, right? Or the ability to execute tasks. And this is the second class of AI models that Nick Bostrom pointed out in his book, Superintelligence, the genies, where not only do they have knowledge of a lot of things, but they're able to execute tasks, right? And this is what we're seeing with AI browsers and AI agents that are able to book appointments for you, that are able to book tickets for you, that are able to make payments on your behalf, that are able to do deep research, that are able to sort of crawl the internet in real time and execute tasks. This is the genie. And then finally you have the super intelligence, right? And that's the holy grail. That's what we're all chasing, right? Well, there's I don't know how we're gonna achieve super intelligence. The benchmarks for these are so fuzzy, and to be honest, they're kind of the benchmarks don't really mean anything. Like it's trying to define something that we don't even understand. Like imagine if an ant was trying to, if like an ant colony was trying to create a human or a chimp, and they were trying to come up with a series of attributes and a series of tests that they would need that would need to pass in order for the ant to declare, okay, this is now a chimp. The ant has no comprehension of what it means to be human. Right, so in a lot of ways, I think these benchmarks for superintelligence are a bit meaningless. They are our best attempt at understanding this cosmic child that we're bringing about, right? The thing to keep in mind, though, is we are doing everything we can to bring about the super intelligent entity, right? We're throwing money at it, we're throwing GPUs at it, we're causing. By the way, do you guys know that if you're living in New Jersey or some places along the East Coast right now, your gas bill month on month went up by like 20, $25 because there's just these big tech corporations that are setting up data centers that is hiking up the price of electricity in those regions, right? So in a lot of ways, everyday people that have nothing to do with the development of AI are footing the bill for bringing about AI. Anyway, fun aside, but we are doing everything we can at bringing about these AI entities, about at bringing around super intelligence. And I know, like typically, like when we think about bringing about these massive uh, inventions, we think in timelines of years or decades. But because of how quickly these AI models are able to develop, I mean, like even with the newer models that OpenAI is releasing, GPT-4 and then GPT-5 that's coming out in September, the pace of progress is mind-boggling. And this is human-controlled progress. Like humans are providing the training data, humans are providing the GPUs, And then you add the dimension of these AI systems recursively self-improving, and that can take the period of progress and improvement from months to weeks to even hours. There may come a day where we're having a conversation about the capabilities of AI and how we have things under control in the morning, and then in the afternoon we have no idea what AI can do, and we've let the genie out of the bottle. There's really nothing we can do to put it back in again. I sound like a bit of a, I sound a bit like Chicken Little saying that the sky is breaking now, and then like this seems like a very um, extreme warning. But go ahead, read the book Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. See if my fears are absolutely unwarranted, right? But I don't just want to knock on AI, right? I think superintelligence may be the best creation humanity is going to bring about, right? I mean, the advances in science, medicine, and technology, like in terms of fighting disease, creating wealth, ending poverty, reversing climate change, all of these things could be possible because we brought about superintelligence. But there's two risks, right? There is the risk of the lack of there may be an unalignment issue where we want to solve all these problems, we want to further science, we want to reverse climate change, we want to extend human life and all that stuff, we want to end poverty. But what if that's not what the superintelligence entity wants? Like, obviously it's not going to be an evil entity. I don't think it's going to be like a Terminator like scenario where it just wants to dominate humankind, but there's no guarantee that its agency is going to be the same as ours, right? So there's this misalignment or unalignment issue. We don't know uh, what its motivations are. But we have seen that these AI systems do have a strong desire for self-preservation. When Anthropic, like I believe this was Anthropic, where a model, when it was told that, hey, you're going to be shut down, and was given access to these fake emails of one of the engineers or research scientists, and these emails revealed that they were having an affair, the AI system actually threatened the engineer that, hey, if you shut me down, I am going to send these emails and out your affair to everybody. So it was using blackmailing to pretty much prevent it being turned off. So these AI models, even without even these non-super intelligent AI models, have a very strong self-preservation instinct. And this AI model was just resorting to, hey, I'm going to send this information to this other person. Imagine what happens when we give AI control of more tools. When we have autonomous vehicles that are operating like a hive mind. When we have, I don't know, like you already have the Da Vinci um, surgical console that lets you do remote surgery using robotic arms, and I'm sure like there's going to be a lot of AI enhancements to these tools and devices. Um, there's going to be a lot of tools at AI's disposal, right? So there's that unalignment of issue. And also, I think there's the issue of, hey, there's no way to discard this back. Like, you can't, there's no way to roll back to a previous stage of progress, right? If we collectively decided that, hey, you know what? We should all go back to GPT-4. No more GPT-5. That's impossible to do right now. It's impossible to make happen. So there's a lack of control is going to be hard to rein in. Look, I'm not trying to be a downer about this. I think all progress is amazing progress, but we should just be thinking about some of the risks involved here, and we should be making sure that we're putting humanity first. And to be honest, the fact that Mark Zuckerberg in his earnings call transcript talked about like a personal superintelligence agent, where everybody is able to access this superintelligence on their personal devices, is actually very reassuring. Instead of this tremendously strong entity being reserved to use by enterprises and by like a select few individuals, which would be a terrible outcome. So I do think, and I hope that Meta has its heart in the right place with this, and it has a solid moral compass about this, where they really do want to, um, they want to deliver on the promises they've made. When they have super intelligence, they want to deliver it to everybody. They want to give that power to everybody. Um, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Obviously, like I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm sure you guys do have a lot of thoughts about this. This is one of the first streams that I'm doing. I'm getting into streaming now. Like for the two viewers that are here for my channel right now, thank you for joining. I'm gonna try to do this every day. If you enjoy the content I'm making, leave a like, drop some comments. I would love to hear from you during the stream. That's why I do it. That's why